Likely you have heard about the concept of a strategic foresight, and I suppose that you also have wondered about the possibility of applying this concept and its tools. I invite you to see this video in order to unveil the possibilities of a strategic foresight in your company. Thank you for your attention. I have divided this presentation into three sections. In the first one, I'm going to talk about strategic foresight, the concepts that are around this main field in which we are going to work. In the second section, I'm going to tell something about our contributions of strategic foresight, that our main contribution is the methodology, the silver lining methodology, and the second one are the methods, artificial intelligence methods that we are going to use in order to solve problems. And finally, I'm going to convey some issues that are related to the necessity of building a think tank after doing many foresight exercises. I'm going to start with the first one. Regarding the foresight exercises that we can do at any company or at any organism, we have the management and the staff that trying to control or trying to guide the activities that any company can develop regarding our society. But always the manager is supported by the staff, and the staff is giving new solutions, giving reports about what is going to happen, how is the demand, and what we should do in the future in order to accomplish certain objectives. What we are going to do is to give a second information channel. I mean that we are going to support these decisions on what we call the wisdom of the group. So we are going to gather the information from experts, and we are going to treat this information by using a methodology, and also we are going to treat them by using artificial intelligence methods. Well, we live in a society in which many philosophers define a very developed society in which there are three main aspects that have an direct influence on our society. The first one is immediacy. So we want things right now, and a good example is the use of the internet. We look for things over the internet, and we would like to have the solution right now, because if I don't have the solution right now, it is impossible that I can I can carry out my task. But another feature, another characteristic of our society is interconnectivity. Everything is interconnected. So we need to study in depth any problem and to see what is the relationship between this issue with other issues, because if I change something, probably it will have a direct effect on other issues. And finally, complexity. No easy problems we have today. We have only very complex problems, and to try to fulfill these requirements, society requirements, we have to anticipate. When we are talking about immediacy, we have to plan what we need and the solution that we can to carry out, to achieve, and also to fulfill interconnectivity, we need to make a thoughtful relational analysis. We have to think about how things are related. And the third feature is complexity. If we want to fulfill this requirement, we need to divide these big problems into small problems and also to compute them in order to obtain a solution. In order to envision what is going to happen in the future, we have two main branches. The first one is forecast, that is used in sciences like econometry, demography, methodology, and in this branch, analytical mathematical models and also algorithms are used. For example, in methodology, if you, by using models, we can know the probable forecast that we are going to have tomorrow in 2 weeks' time. But when we are facing problems in which we cannot use algorithms, in which we cannot use mathematical models, we have to replace the computers, the algorithm, by the best computer that we have in our world. I mean the human brain. So we are talking about foresight. We are going to talk about how to foresee the future by using the human brain. And we already do that, especially in this big picture that I showed initially. We are using the report of the staff. So we are using the person who is around the manager in order to give solutions, to give reports, to study what is going to happen in the future in our society, in our market, about the demand. And what we are going to do is to add to this channel a second channel, that is the group opinion. So we are going to treat the opinion of a group of experts in order to give more expertise to solve this problem. And that is what we call the use of the wisdom of the group. I would like to remark the difference between futurism and strategic foresight. When we are, in general terms, talking about science, like futurism, a science that tries to describe what is going to happen in a general future by extrapolating current situation, social behavior, the state of the art in technology, and we are going to extrapolate what is going to happen in the future, and also our desire by using, for example, science fiction and seeing how we can apply this technological improvement in the future, and to see if cars will fly in 10 years or 15 years. On the other hand, we have strategic foresight. The foundation of this strategic foresight is similar to futurism, but with two main specific characteristics. The first one is that we are going to study the future, but the scenario that can be developed around the strategic objectives of any company. And the second characteristic is that it is not subjected to time. We are talking about a future, but not a far future. Our problem can deal with a near future. For example, we have a strategic objective that we have to achieve in 2 weeks. We can study the scenario that can be around these strategic objectives and can frustrate or can facilitate this the consecution of the achievement of these objectives. So that's the reason why many people don't trust strategic foresight, because they are confusing futurism with strategic foresight. So what is important is to distinguish the two branches of study. So, in summary, we have the strategic planning and also the strategic objectives that we want to achieve in a short or long period of time, And also we have to study the scenarios that are around these strategic objectives that can facilitate or can frustrate to hinder the achievement of these strategic objectives. Here you have my personal definition of strategic foresight. That is a dynamic research. Why a dynamic research? Because it doesn't matter if it is in a short period of time, in a long period of time. The picture that I'm going to study, or the picture that we are going to get of that situation is not fixed. So we have to go, we will have the initial picture, but we have to check if our hypothesis about these possible scenarios is consistent through time. So that is the reason why I started the definition by saying a dynamic research process, because what we are going to see is how to facilitate these strategic objectives. So we are looking for the optimization of these strategic objectives achievement. Let's move on to the following section. I'm going to talk about our innovation and contributions to the strategic foresight field. Initially, and first, and I believe that is the most important contribution, is the silver lining methodology that allows us developing exercises in a faster way and with more quality. And also, I'm going to talk about the artificial intelligence methods that we use to solve certain problems in strategic foresight. The silver lining methodology is divided into 5 phases. The first one is when we talk about how to start the project, how to identify objectives, and we have to do many previous processes. In a second phase, we are going to ask questions, to send questionnaires to the experts. In a third phase, we are going to process all the answers. And finally, we have to make analysis of these inferences that we have between certain scenarios. And finally, we have to validate the results. I have highlighted in red the main parts of the methodology that is divided into 21 different processes. A first group that I consider is vital is the selection of the expert group, and also the evaluation of this group, the evaluation of the knowledge of this group. And the other that you have at the bottom is to measure the quality of the exercise. It means that we have to apply a metric to see how good is the exercise that we have just finished, and we can compare the quality of our exercises. And the last process is to validate the results. It means what I said before. We are not talking about a fixed picture. We are talking about a developing process in which we have to see how these pictures is developing through time. And with this methodology, we are going to try to fulfill the social requirements like complexity, interconnectivity, immediacy. Well, I have said the methodology is our first contribution, but inside the methodology we are going to deal with big problems, like the problem that we had a time ago when we used the cross-impact methods. That was very difficult, was almost overwhelming when you have a lot of scenarios and a lot of events. Now, instead of using that techniques, we are using artificial intelligence methods. For example, in order to gather all the information that we have obtained from the experts, we use fuzzy logic. We have another problem when we are working with more than 7 or 5, 6, 7 events that belong to an scenario. So imagine that for 7 events and alternating the existence or not of these events, we get 256 scenarios. We cannot deliver the whole set of the scenarios to the experts. They will be exhausted. What we do is to deliver 15 scenarios, and we are going to extrapolate to the rest of possible scenarios by using neural networks. And finally, we are going to face problems like looking for optimization, which is the best scenario or which is the worst scenario. So we have to look for the optimum between a wide set of different scenarios that we have. And now we are going to use intelligent searches. Let's move on to the last section of this presentation, that is some comments about building a think tank. Well, we have we need 4 elements. Three of them are the main element that we should have. The first one, we already have it, that is the analyst. At any company, we have the staff, the person who is helping or supporting the manager. And we already have the analyst, and we have to add 2 more elements. The group of experts, from them we are going to elicit information, and also the IT specialist. And finally, when we develop many exercises, we need a 4th element, that we will require a knowledge management system. We have 2 issues that we have to treat. We have to study in depth. The first one is the expert knowledge. The more knowledgeable are our experts, the better for the result of our exercise. So we have to look for a system to measure the expertise and also the intelligence of our group of experts. Another issue that we should study is the discrimination and also the scenario evolution through time. Imagine that we are going to open a new office in a different country, in a foreign country, and we try to study what is the scenarios around this situation, this strategic objective in 2035. I wonder if we are going to ask this question to our experts, if they are able to distinguish between what is happening in 2035 compared to what is happening in 2032. The differences between economy or market, for example. So I strongly believe that we have certain capacity depending on the time. So we'll have more discrimination, our resolution thinking about that will be better in the near future than in the far future. But it is not different from what's happening in forecast analysis. Imagine the weather forecast for 2 days' time is not the same, that the accuracy is not the same as the accuracy that we have for a weather forecast for 2 weeks' time. Is different. So we have to take that into account. And so the solution for this problem is to make a follow-up study, to develop a follow-up study. So in some time I'm going to check if my hypothesis is the same, and if there is some event that's have changed, I have to reconsider the scenarios and have to do some modifications, and I have to study if they are very strong. I have to study again the scenarios around the strategic objective. So I mean that we are studying or planning this, and we are going to see what is going to happen around the strategic scenarios in a specific time, but I have to study after a period of time what is if I have to change my initial hypothesis. And I will be doing exercises and exercises and exercises, and these exercises will be interconnected. As I said before, what we are going to need is a knowledge management system in order to store all this information, and with the capability of study the relationship between projects, I'm sure that is going to fulfill the social characteristic of interconnectivity. And finally, we are going to see another tool, powerful tool that we use in order to study interconnectivity between the scenario and entities. For example, imagine that you have a scenario of civil protection, and this operational scenario is defined by some features, some characteristics, like the budget, the human resources, the coordination. And the operational scenario is not isolated. This characteristic depends on the domestic ministry, for example, the internal affairs. And also this ministry depends on the government. And the government is influenced by the public opinion. And the public opinion is influenced by the media. And also ecologists can influence on the media. So it means that the scenario is not isolated. And it is good that we know the different interconnection that can have to our scenario, because probably we can influence on some of these entities, or if we cannot influence, we can be on alert about these influences that they can have. So it is important to include that in our knowledge management system, because the more information we have, the better for our general knowledge. So we are preserving the knowledge in one system that will remain in our company, because personnel sometimes go to other companies. And that is all about my presentation, and I believe that this presentation can give you some solutions and information about that. If you have any question, or you want to be in contact with us, you can do it directly from our website. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be pleased to answer any question that you have. Thanks a lot.